Hey, Shalom, Akim Shalom. First and foremost, as always, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders, a great millstone that taught us his truth, and that's still teaching his truth. And much peace, love, and salutation to the elect, beginning with 144,000, all the way down to the large multitude that believes and who the Lord will deliver in these last days. To you all we say Shalom. I'm the brother Tazamah from the Great Millstone Dallas camp, coming back today with another lesson, and I pray this lesson will be edifying to the elect. Today's lesson is going to be entitled, When Trade Stops, Judgment Starts. All right, when trade stops, judgment starts. All right, and America has already, began to be judged by Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai due to, the office. I'd rather say due to the people that are in power right now. You have the Edomites that are in power, but, as the scripture says, in Jeremiah, the 49th chapter, pretty much that the wisdom of Teman would perish. And with the likes of Donald Trump in office, which we believe he's going to be the one that's going to institute the MLTB, as well as usher in World War III, and all the different technocrats that he has in office, setting up this AI system, this system that's going to be all ran by artificial intelligence, which is a part of Esau's pseudoscience. This is judgment from the Lord. You see particular actions that are being made by these particular rulers. The scripture says that the king's heart, it says the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. All right, and with these tariffs that are in place, between the United States and China, which we receive, over 80% of exports, or rather, 80% of imports that we do have, come from China. With the 125% tariff on Chinese goods, as well as reciprocal tariffs that are placed on American goods that come to China. Ultimately, it's just going to lead, to a hot war eventually. All right, and it's slated for America to be isolated. All right, whenever destruction does come. All right, so I have an article pulled up here. This is from rtnews.com, and the title reads, it says, Z warns U.S. will isolate itself. And we understand and know, according to prophecy, when it's all said and done, let's actually grab it real quick. In the book of Revelation. All right, Revelation chapter 17. All right, it says, we'll start at verse 15. It says, And he saith unto me, The waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and tongues and nations and tongues. And this whore is talking about is America. All right, Babylon the Great. It says here, it says, And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore. Right? And the 10 horns is talking about the different EU nations, which are more than 10 nations now, but pretty much America's allies. Remember, the scripture says in the book of Obadiah, they that have eaten thy bread have laid a wound under thee. Right? It says, And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. You see that? Going into what? That's going into thermonuclear destruction. Which that's exactly what Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai has planned for America. There's not any kind of healing that can be done to America to cause the wounds, to heal. All right, remember, this is the purpose of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. It says, For the Most High hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree, and give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of the Most High shall be fulfilled. And we're at the time where, the words of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai are being fulfilled, man. There's only a few prophecies left. Okay? We're not going to be here for another 1,000 years or whatever the case may be. We don't have, that's not going to happen. All right. There's a few more prophecies left. And then the Lord's going to completely destroy this place. All right. And then Yahweh Shai is going to return. All right. Add more destruction from the fire from the chariots. Deliver the elect, 2/3 of our people being destroyed here in America. All right. And then the kingdom of heaven being established on the planet Earth. But before that comes, there's going to be events that are going to be happening on the planet Earth that's gonna ensue to have this judgment take place and happen. Remember, Yahweh Shai said, I've come to bring fire upon the earth, and what will I if it already be kindled? Letting you know there's going to be particular skirmishes and things of that nature taking place here in America before the actual fire destroys this place. All right. So, once again, this is from RT.com. RT.com in the news. It says Z warns U.S. will isolate itself. It says there are no winners in a tariff war, the Chinese president has said. And there really is no winners. You see? Because really what America's doing is isolating itself more and more. It says the United States risks isolating itself by pursuing unilateral trade restrictions. Chinese President Xi Jinping warned on Friday during a visit of Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez to Beijing. The administration of the U.S. President Donald Trump has launched an escalating tariff war with China, imposing a total of 145% in duties on Chinese imports this week, which means what? That goods that are manufactured and made in China, all right, and you have particular manufacturers, that are based in China, like iPhones and Samsung and things of that nature. These are all manufacturers that are based in China. So that means that these goods that come to the Americas, or rather say to the United States, to America, I'll say that, they're going to be more expensive, causing people to retain from buying goods that are built and made in China, which everything that America has damn near is from China. So it's really going to be impossible to stop buying Chinese goods, and it's going to put more strain on the American people's, on the American consumers' pockets, because our pockets are already a bag with holes in them, as the scripture says, but things are going to get tighter, goods that you typically, goods that you need, like clothing, a lot of your clothing, shoes, pants, shirts, socks, a lot of that, comes from China, Ethernet cables, household appliances and things of that nature, but those particularly come from China, man. So things are going to be, even raw materials. I have another article that I have queued up here. This is from SHTF Plan, which is short for shit, theplan.com. It says a critical rare earth exports from China halted amid trade war. And what are some of these rare earth metals or rare earth exports? Magnets, which are used to build cars and robotics and things of that nature. You see, because right now China, when it comes down to the AI infrastructure, China's ahead of the game. China's really decades, it seems like, in front of America when it comes to the AI infrastructure. They already have the social credit score pulled up. It's already like a damn near a totalitarian state out there. It says China has halted the exports of critical rare earth minerals and magnets as the trade war with the United States expands. Rare earth metals are key to the semiconductor and auto industries worldwide, right? Auto industry. And man, and there's not an American car that can stand up to a Chinese vehicle. Not one of them. Not one of them. You see, it says, and they have come to a screeching halt amid an escalating trade war with the U.S. See, because Donald Trump is like, we need to have manufacturing plants here in America. We need to manufacture our own goods. We need to pretty much maintain for our own selves. But that's not what America's really made for. America is a consumer-based nation. That's why whenever the judgment really hits on a high level, all these various different nations are going to be affected. Let me get a quick precept on that. And this Revelation 18, is popping off the pages more and more. Now this is like the credits for America. This is like the ending movie credits when America's destroyed. This is Revelation chapter 18, verse 11. It says, and the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her. Talking about Babylon. Why are the merchants of the earth going to weep and mourn over Babylon? Well, it's going to tell you. For no man buyeth their merchandise anymore. See that? America is a consumer-based nation. They're not really an exporting nation. They don't really produce. America doesn't really produce like that. Not saying that America doesn't produce anything, but America is known for buy. And everybody over here in America is really the consumer. And they rely upon these particular goods that are, these particular goods in China, Mexico, Canada, to really function in everyday society and everyday life. It says the merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones and pearls and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet and all fine wood and all manner vessels of ivory and all manner vessels of most precious wood and of brass and of iron and marble and cinnamon and odors and ointments and frankincense. Mind you, all these things that we're seeing here, a lot of these things are not produced here, or they're not naturally here in America. A lot of these things that are here are exported in, you see? Like frankincense, frankincense, that comes from the, what's that tree called? The basmati, is it basmati tree? Something like that. Somebody could put it in the comment board. I don't want to misspeak on the actual tree, but to make a long story short, these are things that are imported in and not naturally here within the States. It says, in wine and oil and fine flour and wheat and beasts and sheep and horses and chariots and slaves and souls of men. Even when it came down to slavery, man, America had to have its slaves exported in. When we got gathered up from the Western, from Western Africa and Central Africa, and various different places also too that we were gathered up from. It says, and the fruits that thy soul lusted after are departed from thee, and all things which were dainty and goodly are departed from thee, and thou shalt find them no more at all. Why? Because America is going to be completely destroyed. It says the merchants of these things which were made rich by her shall stand afar off for the fear of her torment, weeping and wailing. You see there, why are they going to be weeping and wailing? And saying, alas, alas, that great city that was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet, which purple and scarlet represents like royalty, and decked with gold. Now, did not Donald Trump say that we're entering into the golden age of America? Hey, in Isaiah the 14th chapter, it says that what? The golden city ceaseth. It says decked with gold. It was also said that when migrants would come to America, they would say, oh man, I heard the streets are paved with gold over there. Why do you think that's the case? That this is Babylon. It says, in precious stones and pearls, for in 1 hour so great riches has come to naught. It's only going to take Yahweh Bashem Yahushai 1 hour to completely destroy America. 1 hour. It says, and every shipmaster and all the company in ships and sailors and as many as trade by sea stood far off. And what they're doing now is they're setting up a CO2 tax, on goods that are brought in by ship. Watch out for that coming soon. You see, it says, and cry when they saw the smoke of her burning, right? Saying, what city is like unto this great city? See, because not the whole world ain't gonna be destroyed whenever Babylon falls, man. You're still gonna have nations that are still operating, because when America falls, that means that the whole global system is gonna fall. It's gonna be a global collapse. All trade is gonna stop. You see, it says, and they cast dust on their heads and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, alas, alas, that great city, wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea by reason of her costliness. Let's get that word costliness real quick. See, all the merchant nations are going to weep and lament and mourn whenever America is destroyed. All right, that word costliness is timiates. All right, timiates or timiotes. Let's just hear Esau say it. Hold on. For some odd reason, it ain't playing. Oh, you know what? I know why it ain't playing out loud, because I have my do not disturb. Well, I mean, I can't hear it. You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. If you guys can't hear it, it's all good. Hopefully you guys can hear me. You know what I'm saying? But we'll continue on. And that word timiates, it says properly, it says preciousness, costliness, an abundance of costly things. You see, an abundance of costly things, man. And the things that get imported here to America is made cheap. Like in China, it is made cheap. You see? But, it's made cheap, then it's sold here on a higher dollar. which really makes both nations, pretty much it really makes both nations prosper. Not prosper, what they benefit off of each other, I'd rather say. Okay? So going back, let me see if there's a root on this. Okay, there is a root. I'm getting ready to park my car. And that root word is timios. It says, as of great price, precious. It says, held in honor, esteemed, or especially dear. You see? And one thing that the American consumer does is they're with them being so consumer based, they hold everything that they have here in America with value, whether it's their cars, their clothes, their jewelry, whatever it is. You see, that's why this is the city that dwelleth without care, that has neither bars nor gates. You see, America, the average American ain't worried about tariffs. They're not worried about trade stopping. They're not worried about, the inflation that's getting ready to explode here soon. They're not worried about it. You see, because they're stuck in the rat race, worried about the next dollar that they can make. You see, it says China produces over 90% of some of the China produces over 90% of some of the world's most critical rare earth minerals, such as yttrium. What is yttrium? What is yttrium for? It says the chemical element of atomic number 39. Yada yada. See if there's let's see here. Yttrium is primarily used as an additive in alloys to enhance strength, particularly in aluminum and magnesium alloys, which I take it as a lot of this is used for cars. I know like aluminum alloy is something that's used in the making of vehicles. It says dysprosium. Let's see. What is dysprosium used for? Dysprosium is primarily used in permanent magnets, you see, specifically in neodymium-based magnets to improve their thermal stability and magnet strength. See, so this is magnets, lamps, lasers, medical equipment, alloys, sensors, data storage, this is going to cause more on the chip storage too. The chip shortage, and terbium. Okay, let's look up terbium. It says it is also used in low energy light bulbs and mercury lamps. So things for lights. It says in the new export restrictions sever the supply lines to users around the globe. According to the report by The Independent, following President Donald Trump's imposition of steep tariffs on Chinese goods, Beijing has restricted the export of seven rare earths and related materials used in the automotive, defense, and energy industries. You see, the defense, probably like the making of missiles and things of that nature. They that have eaten thy bread have laid a wound for thee, like I quoted in the book of Obadiah. Exports in China are now required to apply to the exporters in China are now required to apply to the Ministry of Commerce for licenses, a process that could take anywhere from 6 or 7 weeks to several months, according to the sources. All right. And that's going to affect, the global economy big time. And that's going to affect America too. See, because it's not just going to be America, it's going to affect, EU nations, which is going to have them looking at America like, man, look, y'all messing up the bag. You see? Let's get a few more, because I don't want this lesson to be too long. Because of course we still gotta see more things pan out. But Yahweh Shema Shai, man, hey, the Lord is moving. All right, let's get 2 Esdras 15. I want to read this in the GNT. I'm gonna take a look at this. Okay, why is it not showing 2 Esdras? There it is. Okay, 2 Esdras 15. And let's look at verse 46. Because, synonymously with America, going through its tariffs and things of that nature, you're not going to have, You know, you're not gonna have China. You're not gonna have China rise up as the next world power. You know, America gonna fall, and now you're gonna have the Chinese be the world's superpower on the planet Earth, that everybody gonna have to, you know, bow down to the Chinese way. That's not gonna happen. You see, because China, you know, Asia or China is linked with America. You see, one can't function without the other. You see? So this is 2nd Ezra chapter 15. I saw the verse 46. It says, "You, Asia, are to be pitied. You are doomed. You have enjoyed the splendor and glory of Babylon." You see that? "You have imitated her and dressed up your daughters to look like prostitutes to please and gratify your lovers who have always lusted for you." You see, because China, you know, pretty much operates off of America's wine that's being pushed worldwide. You see, a lot of these different companies within the African market. You got you have a lot of Chinese over there, man, taking over. You know, building up manufacturing plants and things of that nature. And it's all for the benefit, really, of America at the same time, because there's a lot of rare metals. There's a lot of rare metals that are in Africa as well. It says, because you have imitated that vile prostitute and everything she has done or planned, the Most High has this to say: I will send disasters upon you. I will make you a widow and send poverty, famine, war, and epidemics to destroy your homes and bring ruin and death. You see that? So you goddamn Moabites, you ain't out to clear. Don't think for 1 minute that you're gonna prosper out of this either. The power of which you boast which you boast will wither like a flower when the burning heat is sent upon you. You see, because that, you know, a flower could look beautiful at one point, but once that heat hits it, that mug withers up and dries away. You will be a wretched, weak woman, so bruised, beaten, and wounded that you will no longer attract your wealthy lovers. You see, because you're gonna fall too. Don't think for 1 minute that with these tariffs, you're going to have these different nations make unilateral deals with you either. Yeah, you got these BRICS nations, you know, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. You know, then also you do have Saudi Arabia and things of that nature. But the BRICS ain't going to be the next powerhouse that's going to be operating here in America, man. That's not going to happen. Now, the Lord is using, you know, nations within BRICS to ultimately bring forth destruction to Babylon. Absolutely. You see, but with this global trade war that's taking place, man, this is going to lead to a hot war. Like when you read in Ezekiel the 27th chapter, where it talks about the fairs of Tyre, you know, and pretty much how all the fairs, you know, and all the traffic that caused America to become rich, because this is a dark saying for America too, for the king of Tyre in Ezekiel 27 and Ezekiel 28. That's a dark saying for America, man. You see? But this is ultimately all going to be bad for all nations worldwide. That's why do you think the scripture says when Yahushua returns, he's going to have many crowns on his head? All these things tie up. All these things tie together, I'd rather say. But that's it. You know, I just want to do this lesson. I pray this lesson was edifying to the elect. Once again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, B'Hashem Yahushua, B'Hashem HaKadosh. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders, a great millstone that taught us his truth, and that's what teaching his truth, and much peace, love, and salutation to the elect. Until next time, Lord willing, I say shalom.